goodness. So, did anybody exercise your independence this past week? My neighbors did. Illuminating fireworks all night long. God bless them, everyone. But I survived, right? I'm sure y'all survived. And this independence thing is a big deal for some of us, hopefully for all of us, a recognition that you have independence. If you choose to live, it is mine, you could say. And when we talked about this last week, we were looking at the preamble to the Declaration of Independence that talks about how we were endowed by our Creator with certain inalienable rights. Remember what those are? Yeah, life, liberty, pursuit of happiness. When something is endowed in us through our Creator, I'm going to point you over to your spirit versus your body or your brain or your ego. That's where spirit endows us, is in spirit, because there's only one spirit and we're all an expression of that. So when spirit is endowing us with these rights, it's also endowing us with some powers. And we talked about those powers as Apostle Paul described when he was writing to Timothy, that we've not been given a spirit of fear. I'll try that again. We've not been given a spirit of fear. There you are. But we've been given, all right, put it up there on the screen. Let's read it together. God did not give us a spirit of fear, but rather a spirit of power and of love and of self-discipline. Who wants to describe that spirit of power for me? Margie? The energy of God moving in you and through you. How else might we describe that power that we've been given? We actually sang the song about it when we talked about thinking upon those things this morning. Our spirit of power, one of our 12 powers in unity, power of power. Yeah, I know it's weird. So the spirit of power is about us not only being able to think thoughts, but choosing thoughts. Remember that? That's our power, to be able to choose our thoughts when they start popping in without our permission and we don't like them and they don't feel good. We have the ability to be able to transform them into something else. And it's important that we pay attention to that, because as we think for any length of time, we start to believe. And as we believe, it starts to create feelings, and feelings start generating words, and words start generating actions, and actions start manifesting stuff. So it's important that we pay attention to the thoughts in our head and what it is that we would prefer to be thinking instead. We get to create our life experience. This is pretty big. You create your life experience with the spirit of power. And the next thing that he talked about was our spirit of love. And I want to use John Payne's version of this up here on the screen. He said that love is the total and complete acceptance of what is. Love allows. Allowing yourself to be who and what you are, and allowing the same right to all others. How you doing with that? You okay with that? You can buy into that? Can you actually do that? Yeah. Well, some people are easy to love, right? Some people are easy to let them be who they are. And, actually, I'm going to, Julie, come around with the microphone, and I'm going to ask you to tell me about people that are easy to love. Raise your hand if you want to share something. Easy to love. Who's easy to love? Is the green light on?
The ones who love you.
The ones who love you, of course. Who are some of those people? Family, friends, some coworkers. Some coworkers. Okay, thank you, Lisa. All right, so who else is easy to love besides family and friends?
Your pets.
Your pets, babies. Anybody else? Kim Char? Those who are generous in spirit. These are short answers. Sorry, Julie. I'll just repeat them back. Those who are generous in spirit. How about people who think like you? Those are easy to love, right? No argument there. They think like me. They believe like me. And sometimes, when they have certain personalities, like, don't you find it easier to love funny people? Yeah. They entertain you. We might love movie stars once in a while. And it's an interesting form of love when we start going there. What is really love when you think about it? Let me ask you this. This will be a little bit harder question for you. I don't feel loved when what? I don't feel loved when I'm criticized, bullied, ignored. Is that what you said? Not. I did not do that on purpose. Not heard. Not heard, he said. When someone keeps talking for you, is that what? Just over you, yeah. When I don't love myself. I don't feel loved when I'm in an environment or with someone who I don't feel safe with, right? I don't feel loved when I can't just be myself. I don't feel loved when I have to fit in with the way they are in order to fit in. I have to become them or be like them, right? Taken advantage of. When I'm not understood. There it is again. Sorry, Kathy. When I'm silenced. Yeah, I don't feel loved. So we're starting to see a lot of needs here in order for us to feel loved, right? And talk about your ego now. I know that's so hard for you. When does your ego withhold love from other people? When needs aren't being met. When they're angry or resentful. Or you're angry and resentful. Okay, when I'm angry and resentful, thank you. All right, when you're hurt, yeah. When ego has to defend, no love for you, buddy. Yeah. When ego, sometimes we just withhold love because you're different. You don't think like me. You don't believe the same things I believe. You're on the wrong side of my politics. Ringing any bells? Yeah. It's difficult to love someone when they're wrong. Or they don't deserve it. They don't think like me. Yeah. And even, let's face it, when someone breaks the law, whenever we see something on the news, and we see it way too often these days, of someone hurting others, hard to love them, right? Yeah. Why does our ego hold on to our love so carefully? Why do we protect it and not give it away very often? It wants to protect itself. I might get hurt if I give my love away. Why else do we hold on to our love? A pattern that we've learned over time. Might not be enough, might lose my good. Sometimes if you give away love to someone you don't know very well, you're making yourself vulnerable. And the whole reason we need love in our lives is what? Well, from the ego's perspective, why do we need love? To feel like we're worthy, to be accepted, be recognized, valued, feel safe, get our needs met, feel good about ourselves. So we protect ourselves and we only hang out or give out love to those that we feel safe with and that we know we're going to get it back. Not very often do we reach out and give it away to somebody who's not the first one to give it to us, right? So how about the spirit of love that God has given us? Is that the same love we're talking about here? Probably not. Probably a little bit different. And, you know, I have the blessing of doing a lot of reading for the work that I do. And one of my favorite authors in the last couple of years has been John Randolph Price. And he has some amazing descriptions of what love is that really doesn't fit into those categories that we just talked about. So we're going to go through those and just see if we started to work with love from this perspective, might it be easier to be this kind of love? One of the things he says up here on the screen is that love is the overcomer of every limitation. Wow. That's a pretty big order. Love is the overcomer of every limitation. So quick story I can remember is a woman who suddenly went into liver failure, and she was like this close to death before they finally found a replacement. And as she's going into surgery and they take out her liver, it's like a cat had been like scratching it with its claws. Never seen anything like it before, said the doctor. And they replaced the liver, and not long after, that liver started to fail too. And something within her started to guide her on what she needed to change about her life. She started to realize how angry she was about life, how fearful she was about life, how judgmental she was about other people. And she started to make this connection that it was that way of looking at life, and especially towards herself. She had such a negative opinion of herself that perhaps this energy that she was holding based on how she felt was contributing to the death of her liver again. She made it a concerted effort to begin to offer love to herself and to allow others to be who they were, as she was allowing herself to be who she was. And just before she needed another liver transplant, it started to turn around. And it wound up becoming a healthy, viable liver. And she, I think, is still living today with that liver. Love has the power to overcome every limitation. Keep that in mind when you're dealing with a sickly body. He also says up on the screen, love is the only universal, infinite, eternal energy. We speak of God as omnipotence, all power, one power. What if the power's nature was love? Because we speak of God as love. So that power's nature is love. And it goes on forever. That means it's always with us, always in us, everywhere present. He said that love is the energy that is the cause behind all manifestation. The power behind all creation, universes, solar systems, physical bodies, visible supply, money, love is what causes the manifestation out of the blue. Well, that must mean that love is the cause of the universe. The Big Bang, out of the blue. Can you imagine that love energy of God called it forth? The nature of love, we say in unity, is like a magnet. It's like a magnet for our good. It attracts good. So just imagine that when you're seeking to create something in your life, live from love as you think about it. He said that love is the divine activity that impels and guides the laws of evolution, radiation, attraction, synthesis, correspondence, and transmutation. I don't even know what some of these are. But he's saying that love is the activity that impels and guides the laws. Well, one of the laws that we talk about here all the time is what we send out comes back. That originated from love. It was meant to provide our every need, that what we send out comes back. It means we don't have to have $1 zillion in a bank somewhere to get our needs met. We send out love to get our needs, and it comes back with it. That's how it's meant to provide for our good. That's pretty cool. Here's one. Love is the spiritual vibration that carries the divine thought forms from mind into concrete expression, although he's got a capital M, divine mind. So this energy, this omnipotence of God that is love, is this vibration that's carrying the divine thoughts into manifestation. And this is pretty wild. The cosmic fire that changes matter, creates new form, dissolves earthly karma. So we don't talk about the word karma much here, but we kind of indicate it when we talk about the divine law, that what we send out comes back, cause and effect, right? So that's kind of the earthly karma that love dissolves. And there's a scripture in the New Testament that talks about love is the fulfillment of the law. So let's just say that you've been holding some negative thoughts about someone or having some kind of hurtful energy going out to them. What we send out comes back. So what if we're like waking up to the fact that we've been living a lifetime that way and we don't want to reap that reward? What do? Love. Love fulfills the law, dissolves the karma. Are you writing this down? This is good stuff, you guys. Okay, here's one. Love lifts up consciousness of all who are in proximity to its motivating power. So another quick story that I really should give an entire message to is, I probably haven't told you in a while, that story of Ho'oponopono. Dr. Hugh Len from Hawaii, psychiatrist, went to work in Hawaii's prison for the criminally insane. And up to that point, bad place to work. You were constantly threatened. If you worked there, you had to watch your back all the time. He said even the paint wouldn't stay on the walls. It would just run down and plants would die and just a horrible place to be. So they were looking forward to this new psychiatrist coming in to deal with these patients. And he never met with them. Instead, he'd sit in his offices, he'd look at their files, and he would start to hold Ho'oponopono for them, which is, say it with me if you know it, I'm sorry, please forgive me, thank you, I love you. So, of course, he did that on a daily basis for his inmates. And long story short, love banished that hospital. It didn't need to be open any longer because they started transferring them out or they started releasing them depending on their situation, because it's really a wonderful story. I think it's written about in the book Zero Limits by Joe Vitale. And my point being that people were in proximity to this guy who was holding love in consciousness for them. The doctor was only knowing their highest and best self and asking forgiveness for contributing in any way in the collective consciousness that created that type of consciousness within themselves that killed people. Read the book. But in his proximity, people were healed. Sounds like Jesus, right? Okay, one of the things he said, we're talking John Randolph Price here, love in its highest aspect is the force behind the will of God. So we would teach in Unity that God's will for us is always good. And it makes perfect sense if God is love and that the force that God is also love. That will for us will always be for our good. He says it's the alchemy that will transmute the consciousness of nations and individuals, bringing all aspects of planetary life up to the divine standard of spiritual wholeness. That is a mouthful. So it's not like some guy's going to come knock on our door with a hard hat and say, I'm here to raise up planetary life to the divine standard of spiritual wholeness. How does that happen? Well, it starts with love. And, the ways that I've just described to you may seem a little bit higher in consciousness than you can practically apply on a daily basis. So let's just go to our way shower, Jesus, and see how he suggests we do it. Are you ready? Ego's not going to like it. All right. So first of all, keep in mind when Jesus was on the planet, he got to the point where he was awake and aware to his spiritual nature, that he was one with God. And then he went the rest of his life trying to teach us to know that as well. So he was looking at a world, a planet, people, the universe as something that is made out of spirit. So he was interacting all the time with the kingdom of heaven here on earth and told us that that kingdom is within us. And the things that he was commanding of us were things that would help us see that. So here's one up on the screen, Matthew 5:25. Come to terms quickly with your adversary while you're on the way to court with him, or your accuser may hand you over to the judge and the judge to the guard, and you will be thrown into prison. So we look at the scriptures metaphysically, yes. What is the deeper meaning in this story? Well, first of all, think of the word adversary as a belief in a second power opposing God. Make peace with that adversary, which is really just the ego. Make peace with that adversary. Don't give it any power. It doesn't have any power against you. Nothing and no one can stand between us and God's highest good, because God's the only source of good, and God's good is infinite. So if we are going to push against an adversary, we have just created that second power and made life difficult for us, not for them, for us. Make peace, come to terms quickly so that it doesn't escalate. In other words, when there is literally someone who seems to be trying to take your good from them, make peace, whether that's word for word, in their face, willing to work things out, or it's calming your heart when you think of them. That's probably the biggest feat for us to accomplish when we're laying awake nights, is calming it down and making peace. So one of the things we might do is just see them as spirit. Yes, they're in a human body. Yes, they have a human brain and an ego. And yes, sometimes it acts out. Of course, it could be you, just saying. Could be you, your ego, your brain. So just notice that and then set that person aside and go right to the light where there is no adversary. There's God expressing in them and in me. I'm going to allow that being to be what it is. I'm going to give thanks for that. I'm going to apologize for ever trying to douse your light. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. Thank you. I love you. Just a little role play in your mind to help you get into that energy. Now, if we go on in that chapter, Matthew 5, Jesus said, you've heard it said, eye for eye and tooth for tooth. Arr. But I tell you, do not resist an evil person. Look, there it is again. Make peace with your adversary. Do not resist an evil person. You've heard it said, love your neighbor, but hate your enemy. But I tell you, love your enemies. Pray for those who persecute you. Here it is, that you may be children of your Father in heaven. Now, he's not talking about a reward you're going to get when you die because you managed to be nice to that person. He's talking about do this as if, so that you'll know that you are a spiritual being, an expression of God, that child of the Father, expression of spirit. You can do that. You can stop resisting an evil person when you know who you are as spirit. Spirit cannot be touched. And there's only one power working here. And when you're able to get into that consciousness, the evil falls away. He says, I tell you, love your enemies, pray for those who persecute you, that you may be children of your Father in heaven. If you love those that love you, what reward will you get? Are not even the tax collectors doing that? And if you greet only your own people, that sounds familiar. What are you doing more than others? Be perfect, therefore, as your heavenly Father is perfect. There again, he's telling you, be your spiritual self. See them as spiritual beings. Not just because it's the nice thing to do, but when you do that, the problem dissolves. Remember that power of love, dissolving all barriers? This is how you do it. You have to get the cart before the horse. You have to see into the invisible. That's why Jesus said, don't judge by appearance. They may look evil, but there is no evil. And only when you get it, that there is no evil power working against you, will you start to be and fully express your divine potential. See, I told you your ego wasn't going to like this. Okay. So what he said, when love only those who love you, what reward is in that? The reward I think that he's talking about here is awakening to who you are as spiritual beings. That's a big reward. You'll never get there if you just keep coasting through life doing only what's easy for the ego. How you liking that? Let's choose the hard people. We're going to talk more about those hard people here in a minute. So, okay, what if we don't? What if we don't love someone? If we're not able to love someone, it's because we're coming out of fear. And what did we learn about fear? God has not given us a spirit of fear. So now we know it's not of God, it's of our ego. When we find ourselves resisting or criticizing someone else, what happens to us? We get further and further and further away from the spirit within in consciousness. It's harder to hear the voice of God guiding us. That veil that comes down when we come into the body gets thicker and thicker. And we can almost completely lose touch with the fact that there's anything but moi, the human being, which is oh so talented. That's a joke. Okay, so when we let fear run us, we feel separate from each other, and we are definitely feeling separate from God in consciousness at this point. So now we've lost our awareness of the spirit of power and of love and of self-discipline. So we're going to turn to Esther Hicks now and let her help us change our view about this. And Esther has written lots of books. This one's coming from Getting into the Vortex. Yes, weird word. Think of vortex as the kingdom of heaven within you, that place where God's good resides. Okay, so she says, every person with whom you interact is a part of the person you are becoming. They help you define your own personal preferences. So get this. Every human on the planet is a spiritual being. Every human being is a spiritual being, even who you might class as the worst ones ever are spiritual beings. And here's the other part. Every spiritual being on the planet is here to help you. Every single one of them. You don't believe me? Well, it's because we're resisting them. If they're not behaving like we want them to, if they're not on the love list, if they're not like us, if they're doing something that we decided is wrong, then that presence of love cannot work between us for good. So if we're in a negative relationship with someone, it's our opportunity to stop and take a listen. Okay, I know their spirit. I know I'm spirit. We're both one in God. There is access to infinite potential here. What's in the way? It's always going to be you. Hate to say it. Always, always, always going to be you. I know that stinks. But the fact that you know it now, that gives you a leg up. Okay, it's not you, it's me. I've heard that in a breakup scenario, right? It's not you, it's me. Let me get my own thing straight here. So let's go on and see what she says. Every interaction contributes to your expansion as an eternal being. Return to your natural appreciation of others so you can fully enjoy every encounter, whether you agree or not. When others achieve vibrational alignment with something they desire, they in no way deprive you of your desires. This is the good part. For our earth environment has the potential of satisfying the essence of all desires. You should be cheering right now. This is good news, people. That means that you don't have to agree and you can still get your needs met. You don't have to agree because they're not going to get their needs met from you, and you're not going to get your needs met from them. Where are we going to get our needs met from? One source, one presence, one power, one energy of love. That's what spirit is. It's the all provision, the all good. Turn in that direction. So this is possible for us. And if it's not been working out that way, ask yourself, is it me? Have I been withholding love from that person? Have I been blaming, shaming, criticizing, going after, resisting? Then it's going to be hard for love to do its thing. But she said, earth can satisfy all desires. And I go back to what John Randolph Price says, because love is the energy behind the manifestation, not dirt, not weapons, not money. Love is the energy behind all manifestations. Well, then that must be why my stuff isn't showing up, is because I'm not living in a consciousness of love. What is love? Just allowing people to be who they are and allowing myself to be who I am. You said that was pretty simple. I heard you say it. Okay. So it's about us seeing the good, wanting the good, working for the good. Here's something else she says. When you make peace with those who differ in desire and belief and behavior from your ideas of what's appropriate, you do not perpetuate what you consider to be wrong. Instead, you align with the solution side of the equation that's been waiting for you. Not their solution, your solution. They got a different solution. They're going to get it differently. That's when you do what? Make peace with those who are different. Make peace. It doesn't mean that you're depriving yourself, because there is enough for everyone. So what we're talking about is that vortex, that kingdom of heaven, where those divine ideas wait for us. And that's how they're going to feed into your consciousness, is because now you're in this framework of love. Think of love as a vibration. It's the highest vibration of all energy in the universe and beyond. And that love energy is the mind of God at work. So when you're feeling love, when you're allowing other people to be who they are and you're allowing yourself to be who you are now in alignment with God. You are now open and receptive to God's wisdom and guidance and provision and health and well-being, all the good stuff. And it was so easy. You just had to go, have a nice life. I'm over here having my nice life. Right? Easy, right? Yes.
It makes me think of the African-American gentleman.
Kevin's talking about the gentleman who he's African-American and he's been inviting KKK members over to dinner. And one by one, they give up the robe. Yeah, he didn't do the easy route. He didn't only hang out with people like him. He's making a difference in the collective consciousness. Okay, so when we start to feel bad in relationships with other people, it's not because they're different. It's because of how we see them as different and our judgments about different. I'm asking you to just give it up. Give up the need for you all to be like you, because nobody wants to be like you. I mean, you're beautiful and you're wonderful, but you're just here to be you and they're here to be them. Are you kind of getting on board with this? You're going to have to think about it some more. Keep in mind, we can't attract to us our good if we're focused on what's not good, if we're focused on what they are doing or saying or taking from us. So that's about being focused on fear. Not good. That's about being focused on lack, not love. Let their differences be who they are, be what they prefer, and you focus on what you prefer. When you've got loved ones in your life, let me just finish with this idea, because a lot of us are like, but what about my son? Just can't seem to get his act together. Still living at home, and he's eating me out of house and home, and he has no ambitions. He doesn't know anything. He doesn't want to know anything. He just wants to sit in his room and play video games. What do I do with that? And if you're watching online and that's you, I love you. I'm going to allow you to be who you are. Should the parent just allow them to be who they are? Well, let's put it this way. Stop resisting them. Stop resisting who they are. Remember, it's love that lifts, not judgment. Hey, planting some seeds here, just thinking. Somebody dealing with sickness in your life, and you want them to be healthy and well. It's really easy to stand at the hospital bed and see all the machines and listen to the doctor and look at all the medications and predict the worst. Love is different. Love stands there and sees who they are as spiritual beings, their highest self. Love stands there and focuses on their best possible outcome. Love focuses on who they are as a spiritual being, which is untouched by sickness. That's where the power comes. That's where we start to reveal the goodness of God in our bodies, is when we start by looking at spirit. Are you getting this? Okay, so let me just switch over to meditation since I'm yakking away here. And this will be an opportunity for us to get familiar again with just the energy of love. Just think of it as this beautiful power that surrounds you, that attracts good to you. And it's right at the heart of who you are. Let's get used to that. I'm going to invite you to close your eyes. Mark's going to play for us. Whether it's the worst of times or the best of times, as you close your eyes right now, allow your attention to come to the heart of you. Let's imagine that your spirit resides right there where your heart is. And your spirit, God's spirit, it's all the same. Allow that God goodness, that God love to just pour forth from you. So now it's starting to create this beautiful circle of love around you. And you see this circle becoming brighter and expanding. And your heart is allowing all those around you to be loved by this presence. Not just the ones in this room, but imagine that circle of love spreading out across the state and the country and the world, where there's room enough for all beings inside the circle of love. Just hold that for a moment. See that light. Know only harmlessness in your heart. As you breathe and relax, you feel yourself accepting everyone as they are. That love energy is still at the center of your heart. So now see it as this beautiful pearl, this blazing, light-filled pearl at the center of your being that is love. Recognize that pearl of love as that which is here to do good, to see good. You feel it radiating love. And as it opens up and becomes bigger in your heart, it's warming your being with love. And that love is still communicating with all those souls around you. This one love of God is lighting up their minds and yours too. softening hearts, bringing the perfect answer that each one of us needs. We allow that love to shine from our heart. It's a love that heals bodies. Just imagine that. This healing light is going out across the world as a healing light. As you feel that love of God within you, imagine it's harmonizing circumstances in people's lives. That relationships are coming together in peace. This power of love is prospering and providing, supplying, adjusting for good. It's an effortless work that love does as long as we hold it in our consciousness. This agent of love, we keep our hearts and minds open to allow that beautiful light to guide and forgive. This love is strengthening and supporting not just my own being, but all those near me, all those that are open and receptive to this love. You relax knowing that there is enough good in this love to go around. And I imagine all beings receiving this love now. Knowing for themselves God's infinite good. And I return back to just myself, knowing that that blazing light of love still dwells within me. I am a radiating center for universal love. Allowing all beings to be who they are. Accepting myself for who I am. This is the life we are designed to live, and now we let it be. Thank you, God. Amen.